Hello and welcome back to Sustainable Teacher. If it is your first time here, my name is Leticia and I'm glad to meet you. And if you've been here before, I'm happy to see you again. In today's video we will finish this unit about Earth's dynamic, talking about geological risks and what type of consequence we will have due to this endogenous process mainly, and also about some exogenous processes like volcanoes. So if you are interested in this video, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Let's start talking about what is a tectonic force and what can cause a tectonic force. So the tectonic forces are the consequence of the movements of tectonic plates. Moving a plate is not an easy thing. It requires a lot of energy, and as all the tectonic plates in the Earth crust are like a puzzle, if one moves, probably the other next to each other will also move. So as a consequence of those tectonic movements, sometimes, of course, energy is required, but also energy is released. And this is what we call a tectonic force, okay? The very least thing that the Earth can suffer as a consequence of those tectonic forces are deformations. So the soil, the different layers of sediments that in the origin when they sedimented were horizontal can move, okay? If the deformation is temporary and everything comes back to the original position, we are talking maybe just about millimeters or centimeters, not big movements. We talk about elastical rebounds, and as a consequence of this elastic movement, energy is released in form of waves that we feel as an earthquake. But usually those forces they leave a trace. They are not elastic, even in earthquakes, okay? So the earthquakes can have both elastic and permanent deformations. In the case of permanent deformations, we have two types also. If all the land maintains it all together, the land doesn't break, let's say, we will create a fold or a series of folds. These are plastic deformations because the land doesn't return to the original shape, but the land doesn't break at the same time. But if we reach the limits of plasticity of this land, the land will break. These tectonic forces will cause a breakage. And as a consequence, what we have is what we call a tectonic fault, and the terrain will divide. So let's see the three main types of tectonic faults that we have. We have normal faults or direct faults when we have always two blocks. The blocks that will move up or down is called hanging wall, and the block that will stay fixed is called football block, okay? So in a normal fault or direct fault, the hanging block goes down as gravity goes down, okay? So it's normal that the block goes down because of gravity. In the other case, in the reversed or indirect fault, it goes against gravity. So the hanging wall block will go up over the football block. okay? So it's gonna be up against gravity. In the case of normal faults, usually the land will break due to a tension, okay? We are tearing the terrain, the land, and as a consequence, we will kind of divide it. And that's why when we divide, we create space and the hanging wall block can go down as gravity goes. In the case of reverse faults, we are compressing, and as we are reducing the space, that's why the hanging wall block goes up, because we are pushing it, okay? And we have a third type of fault in which the movement is horizontal, not vertical, okay? So we will have one block that will go right and one block that will go left. Is just a lateral movement, not a vertical movement, okay? So we don't have foot wall block and hanging wall block because they don't move vertically. And we all know what is an earthquake, right? When an earthquake is happening, we feel like the movement of the earth, and this is due to some waves that come from the inner earth. And where these waves are released, we call this the hypocenter, and the direct transversal point in the Earth's surface is the epicenter, and from both centers the waves will be released. What we will feel is the wavefront. When the wavefront reaches us, we will start feeling those waves, those vibrations, okay, in the floor. Actually, what we are really feeling is some energy that was released from a point in the earth, from the hypocenter. Maybe there was some tension or some compression between tectonic plates, and as a result, we have like an elastic process. Some energy will be released. Sometimes this can cause a fault or a fault, okay? It depends. Sometimes they don't create any faults or any faults. But the thing is that earthquakes, of course, depending on the grade, in a scale, maybe we won't feel them, maybe we will feel them, but nothing serious happened. And sometimes they can even destroy houses and cause big damages to cities, okay? I think worst, maybe when you will see this, it's gonna be 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago. We have two earthquakes, one in Taiwan and one in the US, in New York, and the pictures of skyscrapers moving were incredible, okay? Let's change to something external, because all these risks that we've been learning up to now, they are caused by internal energy, endogenous processes. Of course, it's important that because they can create earthquakes, and this can affect cities, and of course they can change landforms as well, okay? Now let's talk about something exogenous, something external, which are volcanoes. Volcanoes are another type of risk, and now it's quite recent to us, the La Palma volcano, okay, the volcano in the Canary Islands. There was eruption in Canary Island called La Palma, and it wasn't expected. We will talk about how to prevent risks later, okay? It wasn't expected, and it affected lots of houses, because even if eruptions are not really common, sometimes it can happen like hundreds of years between two eruptions. Some other volcanoes in Europe, like Etna, they are really active, and maybe they are active every 6 months, but it's not the case of Canary volcanoes. Okay, so it was unexpected, and some houses were built in the area where lava was flowing later. So you have here some news about the consequence, the geological consequence, human consequence, environmental consequence of the volcano, La Palma's volcano eruption, and also a picture of the before and after of the eruption with all the lava flow over there. Okay, so this now maybe you couldn't imagine what can a volcano cause, but after living this episode in our life in the 20s, because our 20s are being crazy, now you can get a better idea of which are the risks of a volcano. Of course, gases as well during the eruption, ashes as well during the eruptions. They can affect human lives and nature, so that's a big problem. And finally, let's talk a little bit about some risk factors that we should take into account in any case, both earthquakes or volcanoes. The first risk or first point that we should take into account is the dangerousness. So that means how dangerous is going to be the event. It's going to be the volcano eruption, it's going to be the earthquake, or any other type of geological risk. And the dangerousness will depend of two things. First thing, on the frequency. How frequent does it happen? A lot? Does it only happen from time to time? This is the first question. And the second question is the violence. So how hard is gonna be? Is gonna be just a small earthquake on some smoke in the volcano, or is gonna be a really strong violent earthquake that will break buildings, or a volcano that can cover even houses? Okay, so these are the two things to take into account in the dangerousness factor. The second factor is exposure. Who is gonna be exposed to this risk? It's gonna be population, cities, nature, a forest, wildlife, whatever. So mainly we focus on people. We don't care too much about nature. We should, but we don't, because we think in monetary consequences usually. And countries or cities, okay? So if the people in a city are in a place where they can be exposed to that risk, we should take this into account before building there, for instance, or to have a plan, which are the third and fourth factors. The third factor is prediction. Are we able to predict with time when is this going to happen? Because in this case we can evacuate people. Okay, if it is something unexpected that we can't predict, this is a problem. But if we have sensors to detect tectonic movements, or we have sensors in a volcano to detect changes in temperature, maybe, not always, we will have time to evacuate people, okay? Sometimes we don't expect those episodes to be that big, so maybe we don't evacuate population, and in the end we should. Or sometimes they are too immediate and we can't do anything to avoid this. And the last risk factor that we should take into account is prevention capacity. Are we able to prevent damage? And this is going to be related with prediction. If we can predict the risk, we can have a plan to evacuate people, okay? But when we don't have time to predict and the risks are immediate, what we can do is to have buildings or structures to protect us. Okay, so if we live in an area where earthquakes are typical, we will build with techniques in the buildings, in houses, to avoid breakage in the case of an earthquake. If we live in a volcanic area, maybe we can excavate like a river for the lava to flow over there, or we can avoid building in some parts of the volcano mountain to avoid the problems we see in La Palma Island. Okay, and I think that's it for today. I hope you understand everything about the origin of the risks and which the main type of risks we suffer, for instance in Spain, and the consequences and how can we predict and avoid these consequences. If you have any doubt, please leave them in the comments, and of course, see you soon.